You know, it goes right into understanding how knowing your worth
Mhm.
impacts your entire self.
Today, it's your birthday. Not sure what that means? Let us introduce you to this powerful concept in our community. We're Helene and Christina, and our mission is to empower, teach, and remind women to celebrate themselves. Combined, we have over 35 years' experience as therapists in private practice.
We come to you today not as your therapist, but rather two women in this life stage with you, your friends. Our podcast promises to talk about the hard or uncomfortable topics in a way to empower you, laugh along the way as part of all of our healing, and find joy in life. What sets us apart? We leave you with gifts each episode. Now that we are friends, let's go ahead and make this official. We would love to help start your Thursday mornings off right. So make sure you follow the show wherever you listen and sign up for our free newsletter at yourbirthdaypodcast.com. And then you will receive the episode weekly in your inbox.
Welcome back to the It's Your Birthday, the podcast that celebrates you every single day. If you're new to us, we would love for you to join the party of your life. So, like Christina said, follow the show. Today, we're exploring a powerful message. You matter. The reason why this is a hell yes episode is because knowing your self worth is so important, and so often people forget their own value. As always, grab your beverage of choice. I'm actually trying the high protein Starbucks today. It's a yum win for me.
Ooh.
Get cozy. I know.
I have
And
my
get,
homemade protein shake.
well, I splurged. It was a crazy week and I gifted, right? The gifting yourself. So I gifted myself Starbucks today.
I love it.
So,
I gifted myself no coffee this week.
ooh, oh, okay. That's a whole nother, that's a therapy
Right,
session.
that's an episode in and of itself.
All right, let's get back. In today's episode, we're going to dive in why you are a gift and how to recognize your worth and how that can bring positive change in your life. Stay with us, folks. If you already got like a little bit of an oomph, we want it to be a hell yes. We want you to stay because we're going to drop some practical gifts on how to embrace your self-love and how to celebrate your uniqueness. I think this is a special one. Like, I'm excited, but I also understand it can be really hard.
It can be really hard. And
It can.
I realize, like, we're literally recording as my self-confidence got royally shattered by my preteen this morning.
Mm.
Yeah, she left me a love note with really good boundaries, but hard ones. We'll just frame it at that. But she's mad at me over something that happened, and I got a love note on her door to not come in or she will be very mad. And so I texted it to Helene, and Helene rightfully reframed it and said, "Oh, it's the gift of assertiveness." But I think, in that moment as parents,
Yeah.
like, I don't know. Nothing can shatter us more, I think, when you become a parent than your kid.
Mm.
Like, you're so desperate to, like, create that connection, to be the best parent you can be, to ensure that they have everything they need for success, to make sure they know they're loved.
Mm.
And then the second they, like, kick back or, like, say they don't feel loved, I don't know about any other parents, but internally I'm like, "Oh, no."
And I think if you have that moment, and I've shared with Christina, like, been there, been there. So I understand my kids are older and we definitely had our dance. And I rightfully believe we'll have many more dances that can feel exactly that way. So if you have that moment and you have like someone that you trust, like talk about it. Because I think when we went back
Oh,
and
yeah.
forth, hopefully, and again, I'm not trying to sprinkle sugar on shit and be like toxic positivity, but the fact that she was able to assert herself, one, I think shows that she matters, which we want for all of our daughters.
Yes.
And it also shows that you matter because we were talking back and forth and we're totally diverting, friends. We're going to get back to this, but it kind of sprinkles in.
I think it totally sprinkles in.
She has secure attachment with you, right? And we're going to do a future episode on the gift of attachments. And if she didn't have secure attachment, she wouldn't have made that really bold, brave, and powerful statement. And knowing that it could be a moment or maybe a day that it could feel funky and hard between the two of you, there has to be a part of her that trusts that I can be mad, mom can be mad, and I know we'll come back and repair or restore or be okay. So
Mhm.
it can be hard and beautiful. And with that experience, I think she and you matter.
Yes, and I think, it goes right into understanding how knowing your worth
Mm.
impacts your entire self.
Ooh, that's a big statement. Okay, break it down. That's big.
It is big, but
It is
it's
big.
true. So, when you have self-worth, when you realize your value, what you bring to the table, it
Mhm.
affects your mental health, it affects your relationships, right?
Right.
Because if I didn't know my self-worth, I wouldn't have made the parenting decision I made
Mm,
that brought on this love note.
right.
It also helps with our decisions. Like, it helps us make good decisions, and it affects us physically because if we know our self-worth, we're more apt to take care of our body.
Oh, I love that. And when you were just describing it, I think of like a quick example. Like, let's say someone got into a relationship. Oh gosh, these examples that come up on the top of my head. Maybe like in their early 20s. And at that point, they were still in like a different level of like development and growing. And maybe if there was a conflict, that they held themselves back from sharing how they felt or what they needed. And now fast forward, if they're in that same relationship, maybe 20 years later, and they have grown and they have evolved and they know that they matter, they may use that gift of recognizing their worth and express how they feel and be more vulnerable. So that's where it can have positive impact, like you said, on their physical health, because we all know holding on to shit just impacts us physically. So you let that go and you can invite connection because you do matter, and sharing your voice and your thoughts and your needs brings value to you and hopefully invites someone else to understand that you do matter.
Yes, and here's what I would say, if you don't believe you matter, it manifests itself faster than a weed. That's the truth, because slowly it covers all of you, right? Like, I just think of, like, this black mold just kind of coming over you completely of, like, I don't matter at work. I don't matter at home. I don't matter with this. I don't matter with that. When that becomes your identity, all of a sudden, you're not apt to choose healthy choices to nourish your body. You're not apt to go work out. You're not apt to reach out to friends and have a good time. You're not apt to do well at work. You're not apt to take care of your mental health. You're not apt to see a bad day as like just a bad day. Like, it just literally covers all of you pretty quickly. And, that's what I see so much with my patients that struggle with realizing they matter and that they have a place in this world and they have a purpose. Like, if they lose that or they don't know what that is,
Right.
it is toxic.
Mm. That is such a powerful visual. Like, if you are someone right now who are struggling with the idea and the concept or having a knowing of you matter, just picture like that gingerbread man of that you and then slowly it filling up with black. Ugh. And I think when you recognize it, it's also very empowering
Mhm.
to express it to others. Like, it was not until, and again, our podcast is a lot of sprinkling in maybe what we didn't do very well because we did the best that we could do, and we're
Mhm.
hoping you can learn from our growth platforms. But it was really not until like the last year or two that if my kids and my husband would be like, "Mom or Helene," like I would automatically just stop what I was doing and get up. And I trained them that, my husband for 30 years, and now my kid's going on like 19, 22 years. But over the last year or two, I will take a pause, check in with myself, and then let them know I'm in the middle of writing an email. I'll be right there. Or I'm doing something. Is this an emergency? If not, I'll be there in 5 minutes. And it was a little bit of like a discomfort moment, but the more that I kept doing it, and I also said to them, I take responsibility. I've trained you guys that throughout our existence together, when you said, Mom or Helene, I just jumped. And I recognized I was getting resentful of that. You didn't do it. I trained you. This is what I'm going to do moving forward. And after like a couple weeks of me being consistent, having that conversation, it's been a non-issue. But I had to come to that place of recognizing, was I giving away my time? What was my responsibility? And we're going to go into that second part in a little bit, the gift of you, that you matter, and how do I make it happen?
Yeah. I think we've also got to talk about some of the things that chip away
Mm,
at
yeah.
our realization that we matter. I think one of the biggest ones is social media when we use it as a comparison game.
Mm,
And by that, I mean when you're watching social media and you think that person is, that person has, that person, whatever, and your thought process is, but I don't.
right.
And it can just shatter you when you are constantly comparing yourself to people that you're literally seeing a TikTok or a short. I mean, let's talk. You're seeing less than a minute of what they choose to post on social media. That
Right.
is anything but their real life.
Yeah.
I just read that 80% of videos seen on X and TikTok are AI generated.
Oof.
So we're now comparing ourselves to a fucking computer and feeling like we don't measure up.
Let that sit in for a moment. That was powerful, Christina. Scary too.
It is. I mean, you can see it.
Yeah.
You can see it. I mean, it's just I,
Mm,
we can't compare. We can't compare. Or we're comparing our lives to somebody else. Or we're comparing our lives to, I have therapists all the time who are like 10, 15 years behind me in practice. And they're
mhm.
like, how do I get to where you are? And I was like, when I was at your stage, I was where
Right.
you are. You were
Right. You
on the
need
path.
another 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
Right.
But I remember my career when I moved into the office building where you are.
Right.
And I watched you just like have this, what looked like a well oiled machine of just like patience going.
Mhm.
And I was like, ooh, hashtag life goals. But it wasn't like hashtag I can't do it. It was
Sure.
like, I can get there. She's a few years ahead of me in practice. I'll get there.
Right. And I think the great thing about you saying that and we're not saying again, don't be on social media, don't look at the
No.
person in front of you. But when you're going to do that, take one of those powerful gifts. And I know I repeat this a lot that Christina gives us about grounding yourself where you're at right now and check in. Am I available to scroll for a while? And if so, if something bumps my stuff, can I let it go? So just
Mhm.
check in and have that mindset that you're not going to allow someone or someone's choice of what they're showing to rob you of where you're at now. Absolutely. And Christina, I completely understand. When I joined the group practice that I was in Naples, I was by far the youngest one. And I was in, I would say, a powerhouse room of women who were just so gifted and talented. And some of them like 30 years in front of me. And I was just like, a little bit of imposter syndrome. And I just wanted to soak everything up. And I think you, like to the people who come to you, are just lovely and open and cheerleading. These group of women were as well. So just because someone in front of you has it all, again, don't compare yourself. And if it's someone who's really open, like ask them, How'd you get here?
Absolutely.
What did you do? Anything that you can sprinkle? I mean, I have like student interns call me all the time. Like, can I just hear a little bit about your story? I'm like, yeah, the bumps, the bruises, the growths, the successes, everything in
I
between.
love helping people in grad school.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
I don't keep residents or interns or anything like that because I just don't have my
Right.
practice set up that way, but I'm more than happy to be interviewed. I'm more than happy to encourage them.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to guide them, consult. I do it all for free because I
Me
love
too.
that encouragement, and I'm so grateful for the
Yeah.
sprinklings that were given to me
Oh,
that
yeah.
I feel such a gift that I get to pay it forward.
And we want great people in our field. So
We
it's,
do.
yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, really, this is all about you matter is all about having that internal validation. Quit looking for the external. What is
Yeah.
the internal validation? What does that inside voice say about you that is unique and good and fun, positive, joyful? What is all the goodness in you?
Mm.
And what do you sprinkle on this world? Like, what are the gifts that you give this world? Everybody has gifts they give this world. Everybody. I mean, every single human, even the people that we think are not great humans, they still have gifts they sprinkle on this world.
And I love when you get in connection with your voice, even if it's a whisper, you can make it louder. Like in the group practice I was in, Dr. Russell she's just awesome. But she would get you like in connection with that voice if you can find it inside of you, even if it was just little. And it'd be like, like, I'm a good friend. And she'd be like, say it louder. I'm a good friend. Say it louder. I'm a good friend. I mean, you would hear yelling from like her office, like stand on the couch, say it like this little, she'd be like, blow on it, make it bigger, make it more expansive. It was just beautiful. So I love what you're
Yes.
saying.
What is
Have
good about you?
Right, go inside of you because the world can say something to you, but unless you believe the gift of you and that you matter, you're going to negate. You're not going to do the grandma Jean and say thank you. But when you find it within you, you can receive from others.
I think a lot of times too, the one moment I see people really struggle in this, like in midlife or like 30s, 40s,
Mm.
is when they have to take an abrupt career change. Like their
Ooh,
field died down. I see a lot of people like in advertising
right.
that, advertising took a direct turn left and they either had to jump on that bandwagon or they had to find a new career. Or even when I look at my husband, like he walked away from owning an extremely successful company, sold it, and then had to refigure out his identity. And it was like, how do I matter now?
Mhm.
How do I show up and how do I matter? And that goes back to the Harvard Happiness Study, feeling like you have a purpose and a connection. And here's what I would say, even if the way you have mattered for 15, 20 years, maybe you have been a stay at home parent who has raised those kids to the nth, and your last one just left for college, and you're going, how do I matter now?
Right.
How do I matter now? Like, where do I matter? What do I matter? This one is so for you, friend. And we are wrapping you in a big hug. And we love that you are here today. Like, genuinely love that you are here today. And really, we want you to spend time today thinking about what makes you unique. Just as Helene said that Dr. Russell shared, we want you to take just a moment to write 3 things. And if 3 feels huge, write 1.
Yeah.
If you can write 3, awesome. If you can write 1 or 2, amazing. Like,
Mhm.
let's get real and write them down, put them on a piece of paper, type
Mhm.
them in your phone, dictate them in your phone.
Ooh, I love that.
Helene loves to dictate to me and I get to translate.
I know Siri and I break up all the time. She's the worst communicator, but I so need her. We're in this like weird relationship. But what I love about I say that all the time when people are like,
So one of my unique talents is translating Siri.
yes, because people be like, what did you write? And some of them have come out really saucy, but I didn't mean it. I had to be careful before I said. But I'm like, oh gosh, Siri and I are now breaking up. We were in a really good relationship, but she's a bad communicator. So, but but what I love about that, because if you I divert. I'm like on a Friday, this protein's got me like going left field and coming back.
I
If you're
sprinkled my
thinking
ADHD on you.
if you're thinking it, and then you dictate it, and then you read it, you have 3 forms of that going into your system. You
Mhm.
thought it, you said it, and now, girlfriends, read what Siri wrote for you. So I love that because that right there is increasing the strength training of muscle memory that you matter, the gift of you. And the fact that you showed up today, like Christina said, she thanked all you for being here. The fact that you were even curious enough or that you just press play shows that there's that little part of you
Yeah.
that you matter. And you could just start with, I listened to something that initially was uncomfortable and made it through it and hoping
Mm.
now I can find something valuable or practice something. Like that could be your gift right there that you give yourself.
And, here's what I'm gonna say.
Okay.
People are gonna throw shade at you
Mm.
all along, especially if you're doing something really powerful. Like, to me, the better you're doing, the more shade you're gonna get. And it took me a long time in life to realize that, but it's so true. And I think of some of the people that I really, like, love and admire, or people that I just think, like, have shown success and done their best to do good in the world. And,
Mm.
it's so interesting. I was just watching an Oprah interview, and she was kinda going back and forth. It was, like, old school when she had Harpo and all of
Oh,
that.
yeah. Yeah.
So think, like, 80s, 90s Oprah. And for those of you that are too young, you can probably find it on YouTube. But anyway, she was going back and forth and disagreeing with somebody in her audience, not in a disrespectful way. Neither one of them are disrespectful. The audience member was emotional because it was a topic that was passionate for her. But what stood out to me is Oprah did such a way of feeling empowered in who she was and what
Mm.
her beliefs were, while still being respectful of
Mm.
the other person's beliefs that had some similarities and some differences.
She didn't compromise hers to connect with the other person.
Right. And I
Yeah.
think, right now we're in such a divided country with so much tension. And I think if we could just realize we matter, our worth and our opinion matters, and so does the person across the table from us,
Mm.
and that we don't have to agree, but we do have to be respectful.
I love that.
And
Mhm.
if we have our own self worth, we can stay respectful.
Right.
If we don't have our self worth, that's when we explode and we act bizarre.
Right, you get highly agitated and reactive versus staying calm and responsive. You can stay connected to yourself, but when you're not sure,
Mhm.
I mean, these are like clinical terms,
Yeah.
like you get like untethered. Like it's like you're on like a balance beam and you really don't feel solid. Like you're like, you know, you're really feeling like you're gonna fall. Like there's not a solid grounding. But if you believe where you're at, whether it's a belief system or a thought process or a story, you can stay connected. It's like a little silly thing. I think something my husband and I were going to pickleball. He said something or I said something and he goes, I don't remember you saying that. And I said, well, I did. He goes, well, I don't remember. And I said, here's the thing. I love you. I don't need you to remember to know that it happened. And he was like, huh, okay, you're right. Let's talk about it then. Because I knew it was okay. And I knew that I had said it. I didn't need him to validate that he heard it. I was okay if he
Right.
didn't remember it. It definitely happened. And I was open to like still talk about it. Like it was probably something stupid, silly about like going to Gainesville this weekend or something. But I was, I knew that I had said it and it was okay
Mhm.
if he didn't remember, but I didn't need him to remember for it to be true.
No, because you knew that you were enough.
Yeah.
You knew that you brought value to the relationship. You also respect and honored that he is enough and he brings value to the relationship.
Mhm. Yeah.
And just because he didn't remember has no reflection on you not being a good wife. Like those are not
Right.
correlated in any way.
Absolutely. And I feel like it's not like he was dismissing or gaslighting. He was like,
No.
"I just don't remember." And I said, "No problem. I knew it happened. Let's just talk about it for a second." So,
Yeah.
it's when you don't give you stay true, right? Like, think of that balance beam. You can stand tall and you're good, and it's also the way you deliver with what you say
Mhm.
also shows your self-worth. It's like what Christina said, when you can stay grounded in who you are and the way that you communicate it also shows your self-worth and that you matter if you say it calm,
Yeah.
assertively, respectfully.
Throughout the years in my forensic practice, from here to there, I get depositions. And it's so interesting how attorneys choose to behave in depositions.
Mm,
And what I constantly, when they come to me and maybe they're about to depose somebody else and they're asking me questions, I I won't prep them to interrogate a colleague. That's what I won't do. But on the flip side, if they have a question about our laws or rules, I'll answer the question. But I always tell them, look, if you can be kind,
mm,
if you can be thoughtful in your approach in a deposition, you're going to get far more information when you show that you value that person's self worth
mm,
than if all you're doing is trying to tear their self worth down. Because if
absolutely.
you tear their self worth down, if they have integrity, they're going to fight you tooth and nail.
Mhm.
If they don't have integrity, if they don't have that self worth, if they don't realize they matter, they're going to shut down. So either way, you're not going to get what you need.
Right.
But if you go into it with you matter, what you have to say matters, and here's my questions, you're going to have a wealth of information. Some of
Mm,
them listen to me,
right.
some of them still continue with their egos and narcissistic emotions at play,
Right.
which is fine. And that's probably why they don't do as well. And that's their issue.
Mm,
But, I think too, when you're walking into maybe a difficult situation or a difficult conversation, make sure that you are aware of your self worth, that package is inside you and you didn't leave it out the door.
ooh, I love that. I
Like,
love
make sure you are carrying it in with you. That's something when I would go in to testify, for me, my Christian faith matters. And I would pray before I walked into the courtroom every single time. And I still do this. And there's a few things that I pray for. One, that my words will be what the judge needs to make a sound decision for these children. That the information that I relay is the truth and it speaks what these children need to have heard. And three, that I walk in with my integrity and I leave with my integrity, which means that I behave classy throughout. No matter how obnoxious people get, how much their personality disorders sprinkle in, I keep my class. Because I think if you have your self worth when you walk in and you walk out,
Yeah.
you make the most powerful statement you can make.
I love that. I love that, and it ties in exactly to sprinkling some practices to reinforce your self-worth. So you have a three-step process when you do that area of your practice, but let's reinforce and tell some additional ones. I love those. So adopt some of those, like if you're going into whether it's a meeting with your student's teacher or you have to go into a board meeting, you can adopt Christina's 3 powerful ones, press rewind for a few minutes, listen to what she said because those are powerful and practical, but here's some additional ones. I and some of them are you do, it sounded like the first one I was thinking about is, like, you can do those affirmations, like,
Mhm.
"I am enough.
Yep.
I bring value to this world," like, kinda like when you said, "I hope that my words" like, believing, like, my words are true, my words matter, and that they're what the judge needs in order to make the best decision.
Mhm. And I think, that goes to I belong at this table. How many times have we said that to our audience? Like,
Yes.
when you have self worth, you realize that you belong at that table and you have something to offer. You may not know when you walk in exactly what it is to offer, and it may just be listening,
Mhm.
but you belong there and you matter.
Yes.
And this is a great one to just really spend time in mindfulness, and self-reflection. If you journal, if you run and think, if you are like me and, your thoughts on this seem to be right before bedtime because that's when your mind loves to do its deepest thinking, even though it shouldn't. I get
Mhm.
you. But really notice your self-worth. Notice your achievements. Notice how you got to where you are today. And then it wouldn't be that if it wasn't for your hard work.
Right. And setting boundaries. I mean, we also say this like ad nauseum because this one we can't stress enough. When you set boundaries, you're reinforcing that you matter. So setting boundaries reinforces you matter. Another thing you do is do some gratitude practices, which I would say Christina is much better at this than I am. I love that she does this. And we gave you a little bit of a gift and a challenge earlier, but another one is that if you've ever heard of the book Option B, and I always say her name wrong, Cheryl, I always say her
I
name
can
wrong.
never remember names.
I know. I think it's Sarah Strimberg. She's like second in command at Facebook. It's her story of her husband passing
Sheryl
away.
Sandberg.
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
had to look over at my shelf.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, it's a great book. And it's the story of her husband tragically, very unexpectedly passing away on a vacation and how she had to come back without her husband, her high school sweetheart, and raise her two children. And her accountant just really said, "You need to get up. You need to get up and do the thing." And then she was having trouble sleeping. But she started a practice before she went to sleep every night, finding 3 things that she was grateful for, and it changed so much for her. So I recommend that book a lot. So practicing some gratitude practices also reinforce your self-worth. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, you know, we are really challenging you to spend this next week, like literally every single day, all 7 days from today to next Thursday when you get the next podcast. And really notice the gifts you bring to the table because that is going to build your self-worth.
Ooh. Okay, so 7 days that we're challenging everyone for every day to think of one thing that you do that you bring to the table. Okay. Wow, 7 gifts. Okay.
You are a gift, friends, and we are so grateful for you. And we are challenging you in the most beautiful way to really celebrate yourself and be proud of who you are because you are an incredible human and we want you to know that. So, friends, this episode is a must for everyone. Every single person in your life that you love, that you treasure, that you believe in, pass this along to them. They need that encouragement just as much as you do. And if you see somebody who's struggling with realizing their value and their self worth, share them a note of what you believe in them as you pass it along. If you've enjoyed today's episode, we'd love for you to leave us a review and let us know how you are celebrating you. We would love that. You can
Yeah.
also share your thoughts on our social pages. Hang out with us on Monday for gifts from the couch. And we have some huge things coming up. Oh my gosh, I can't even wait. Remember, you matter today and every day. Happy birthday, friends.